I wonder how we can have a culture where ordinary people appear to have been groomed and coached into a state of dumb numbness and compliance, where the kind of emphatic and emblematic support of Ukraine through badges and flags and platitudes cannot, in fact, incorporate the apocalyptic narrative that ought be at the forefront of all of our minds. I wonder if we've somehow been groomed into compliance in 30 years of saccharine consumerism and the sort of sudden shock of 2 years of lockdowns, which in themselves seem to have been somewhat dubiously underwritten, whether it's about the inauguration of how this disease indeed began, the use of scientific narrative, the conveyance of information, the way that, generally speaking, the stories we were told supported centralized power and corporate objectives, whether that was medical policy, social policy. I wonder how you see the pandemic as being part of a broader story of the induction of compliance and ignorance and the creation of a sort of a global state where there is a separate strata of geopolitical conflict or objectives that are kept entirely separate from our ordinary understanding.
I date it to 1947. That was when the National Security Act was passed in the United States. It created the CIA, and it made just a profoundly dangerous blunder for a republic. And that was that it made the CIA two things: one, an intelligence agency, understandable, and the other, a secret army, a covert operation for dirty operations that would never be divulged, basically at the president's discretion. Even Truman knew something's going to go very wrong with this. So when the hardliners are in power, they think they can act with impunity because they don't have to explain anything. We learned it from the Brits, by the way. You know, this is a British Empire behavior for...
We just needed to get tea at a reasonable price, and we were willing to take over a few continents to get it.
Well, that and true, you know, you needed to open up the opium market in China, which was extremely important. So...
Trade,
but you're right. That was partly to get tea. So I think you've got the primary objective. We don't even do it for tea or coffee. By the way, we've been doing it since 1947, and when it's secret, it's just with impunity. What happened in 1992 was that the great adversary disappeared. So now you have the neocons, but you have this. We're all alone. We are the most powerful colossus in the history of the world. We are the world's unipolar power for, by the way, 4.2% of the world population. The hubris of it, the arrogance of it, the obnoxiousness of it is really stunning. But that was the idea in 1992. But you know what really put us into overdrive is that starting in the 2010s, really around 2015, China's rise freaked out the unipolarists, freaked out the neocons, because something was not on the script. The script is, we made it. We're the superpower. No one can rival us. And then step by step, here comes China with 1.4 billion people. So the United States changed its policy. It actually decided that China's continued economic progress was no longer in the interest of the United States. It's a kind of stunning idea that, we don't want you to make more progress. You're stepping on our toes. And so the US began, also under Trump, unilateral actions. Even Obama was playing this, we're gonna write the rules for Asia without China, which is a little bit obnoxious, by the way, and a little bit naive. It was called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and it was explicitly put forward by Obama on the grounds that the United States needs to write the rules, not China. But, the U.S. is an Asian power. China, I'm not so sure. But in any event, this is what has really also increased this sense of anxiety, because we're told now all the time, it's not just Russia that's the enemy, it is China. And China's the big enemy. Russia's the regional enemy. China's the world threat. And so we're in a two-front fear-mongering race right now, where we're in a proxy war in Ukraine, and at the same time, we're stoking incredibly dangerous tensions with China. And our government officials are saying, we must take actions, for instance, stop the export of high technology goods to stop China's continued progress. And when you hear it from the other side, that's a little bit provocative. And then we have the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, flying to Taiwan. The Chinese are saying, please don't do this. Please don't stir the water. Please keep things down. Like Putin was saying, please don't go to Ukraine with NATO. No, we have the right to do it. We will defend Taiwan. Absolutely endangering Taiwan like nothing else by putting Taiwan exactly into this superpower confrontation the same way. So where does the pandemic fit in? Look, it's another piece of dislocation. It's another hot button for me, because I'm also in that debate about where this virus came from, and I lean towards that it came out of some super duper U.S. scientific technology in partnership with China, most likely, so that this is not even a natural virus. But it raises another point, by the way. I headed a commission on the pandemic for 2 years for the Lancet Journal. It was a thoroughly fascinating, riveting assignment. I came to understand how much the U.S. government has lied about the origins of the pandemic. It's wanted to paint this narrative, just like the other narratives we talked about. It wants to paint the narrative that it absolutely was natural. It could not possibly have been anything else. And it chose that false narrative right from the start of the pandemic, way before they could have known, at a time when the insiders were saying, that looks a lot like it came out of a lab. But they created the narrative. That narrative creation is the business of the U.S. government. It creates a narrative about China as the enemy. It creates a narrative about Ukraine as an unprovoked war by an unhinged new Hitler. It creates a narrative about the virus. Once in a while, some of this might actually be correct or not. I'm not even going there. But what it is the narrative is the essence of how politics is to be conducted right now. And then the main method of reporting by the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Financial Times even, which I think is a much better newspaper, is senior unnamed U.S. officials say the following, and it's just repeated straight out, and it says they've requested anonymity because of the sensitive nature of the information. Well, hell, it's so sensitive that maybe we should know about it also.